Anthony, I'm back home and happy I'm alive. I think that was the hardest drive I've ever taken in a rainstorm of my life yesterday.
Well, what time did you get on the road?
About 2 o'clock.
Oh, you hit
And,
it. All right.
oh, did I
What
hit
are
it?
you
We'll talk
saying?
about that more. We'll talk about more of my trials and tribulations here in just a second, but we got to run this first.
I'm Anthony. Welcome to No Vacancy Live. That's my friend Glenn.
You're watching the #1 show in hospitality. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today on No Vacancy Live. We got Anthony Melchiori right there, and I, of course, am Glenn Hausman. And like I said, Anthony, happy to be alive. I'm leaving Baltimore. It's starting to drizzle a little bit, not thinking anything big deal. Then all of a sudden, it's like, the heavens opened up. I've never seen such rain like that for such an extended period of time. And I'm driving up I-95, and all of a sudden, I get an emergency alert, tornado watch. Get out of your cars, go hide in a basement. Then I get this flood watch emergency alert on the phone. All of this, and I'm not even like out of the Baltimore metro
And
area.
you're still driving? You didn't stop?
Well, it was hard to look at my phone when I was getting the emergency alerts, but I did stop. I pulled over. I hung out for a little while. Then I manned up, drove a little bit more. Then I pulled over a little bit, and it was slow going, and the traffic was insane. I think it took me about 8 hours to get home for that 4.5 hours.
Was I the only person that wasn't paying attention, didn't know there was a hurricane coming?
I must have been the only person.
Because everybody was telling me like 2 minutes before the hurricane, are you ready? It's like, for what? They go the hurricane. And all of a sudden start training and then tornado watch. And my daughter was playing, she plays volleyball for her college, and she was playing against NYU. And she's in Westchester, but the NYU campus is in Brooklyn. We're not allowed to go yet. We're not allowed to be in the stands. And I'm watching it on closed circuit. I'm closed circuit. I'm watching it on the internet. And all right, so game's over. So I text my daughter, and I see she's on the highway, and it's dead stop. And and I see it's starting to really pour hard. And she's nervous because storms make her nervous. I was like, babe, what's going on? She goes, they just told us to take us 2 to 3 hours to get home from the already hour they took. So, yeah, she didn't get home. The game started at 7. It was over by 8:30. She didn't get home until 12:30, 1 o'clock.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, but I came out to my yard, and, I have a couple of different spots in my yard. So, like, behind my house, nothing. In front of my house, nothing. The pool had some leaves in it. And besides that, I didn't really see too much, thank God, damage. But a lot of people, I've seen a lot of stuff on social media where subways and basements in Brooklyn were flooded.
I know. We're just very thankful we all made it through, and I'm happy to be here. I should have just stayed in Baltimore another day. But what are you going to do? I'm happy to be here. So Christian Rodriguez is saying, hey, he's been watching Hotel Impossible on Discovery Plus. He misses your show so much. I love that it's on there, man.
Well, we're talking. I know I've said we're talking, but we actually had a couple of shows that we were looking at. But now it looks like we were supposed to have a meeting on the 30th that got canceled. So we're working on it. But I will tell you this openly, that I am looking to get back on television to get a show similar to that show. I think our industry needs it, and I'm finally recovered from 10 years of TV that I think I forgot how painful it is.
I hear you, because you've been on the fence for that a while. I'm pursuing something exciting. I'm going to put out an audio series only on 8-track tapes coming out in the future. I'm trying to innovate, bring it back. Vinyl.
Remember those discs? They were right before VHS tapes, and they were like after cassette tapes. They were like about that. They were like square, and they were like in a plastic.
Yes.
What were they called?
I remember those two. I was thinking the laser discs, the big ones, but these were, I forgot the name.
They lasted for like 35 seconds.
It was like HD audio or something like that.
It was weird. It was like in the plastic. It was like a big CD in the plastic thing that you had to put in. It was, like I said, it lasted 5 seconds. Yes, but anyway, what I don't want to talk about today is I don't want to talk about where's the future, what's going on in hotels. I know we're going to talk about independent hotels and how those relate, but I want to kind of just really kind of stay away from a lot of stuff that we've been talking about. I know you said that, I've said that, our even guest I've said that. So the more questions we get from our audience to ask us questions, and Suzanne, who has a PhD in this stuff, could ask very interesting questions too. So I implore everyone, please ask questions so we don't talk about the same crap today.
No, we're not. Well, we are going to talk about Not crap.
Wow, I'm an advertisement for our show, aren't I?
That's right. Oh, EcoTech, baby. You know I love these guys. I love them so much. I don't just have one. I have 2, 3 here at my disposal. Why? Because my family is so darn filthy, making so much trash, and I won't have to clean out those garbage cans. So I just, put these back to Mother Nature. They're already recycled. Takes care of yourself. And just think about the power of doing that at your hotels. Check out eco-techwaste.com. Learn more about them. It's a great idea. It saves time. It saves money. It's the right thing to do for environment. And as those RFPs are going out for those conferences at your hotel, this is a great thing to add into it in order to make sure that they know you are focused on caring for Mother Nature. Right, Anthony?
I talk about it all the time to my friends who run hotels. It's all over my house, and I highly suggest them, sir.
All right. So let's bring in our guest today, partner in Victory Hotel Partners. You know him, Greg Mount. He's been kicking around the industry for a little bit over there. Hey, man, how are you today? Great to see you.
I'm doing good. I'm excited. You're talking about 8-track tapes and trash can. I can't think of better subject matter.
Hey, listen, people turn into No Vacancy Live for all of this kind of important talk right now. That's why we educate and empower our customers by thinking about old technologies.
Glenn, that's the one thing I miss. I definitely miss chatting with you. There's nothing more fun.
And what's more fun to be introduced by Glenn to say, oh, so you've been kicking around the industry for a while, so you might as well be on our show.
Hey,
it's like,
yeah, hey.
I feel a little bit casual. This guy's a rock star, though, and I got to know him. I think I knew you way back in the day, but we really started to form a relationship when you were CEO over at Red Line. You came in after, and brought Vantage. It really helped unite the whole company, which really set it up for the success they're having today after they've been resold again. It's exciting to see you taking on so many new challenges. The first one is joining as a partner for Victory Hotel Partners. And what we're going to talk about today is acquiring hotels, opportunities that are out there in the market. We've been doing a lot of the woe is me type of stuff, Greg, but I love your attitude because you see opportunity going forward. Before we dig down into it, just give us a little overall arching view on what you're up to at Victory Hotel Partners.
Sure, happy to do it, and thanks, Glenn and Anthony. I appreciate the opportunity. Look, we saw an opportunity starting probably about 18 months ago, where we really felt that the independent boutique hotel space was really one that we wanted to participate in, and so. We have a number of partners in our group that operate large equity funds, debt providers. A number of very, very experienced hotel executives within our partnership. And we really felt that the independent hotel space was one that was really emerging. And quite frankly, over the past couple of years, their RevPAR growth has actually outpaced the brands, which is a great thing to see. And I think a lot of it has to do with the platforms that are now available to independent hotels. And so, we saw this as an opportunity to go into, markets, locations, destinations, that had these independent hotels, and we really felt that they were probably underserved to some degree. We felt that there was, great opportunities to not only acquire but also partner with owners of these hotels, and so that's what we've been doing. We've been acquiring. We've just recently acquired a great company called Hay Creek Hotels, with 25 independent boutique hotels, primarily up in the Northeast. And that was a company that was actually formed by a guy named Norm McLeod, who was an ex-Starwood executive in charge of Westin Brand, Sheraton, etc.
Wow, that's cool. Did you get to know him back in the day when you were over there?
We did, and that's where we came to make this acquisition. Norm had been very hesitant to sell,
right?
Because of our relationships during our 10 plus years together at Starwood. We were able to come together and do this, and so. We love the space. We're actively acquiring hotels in the space and continuing to grow that platform and doing a number of things on a technology platform.
Hey, Anthony, look at this. This is the beach house over in Kennebunkport, Maine.
It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful.
Right, and they've got so many great assets that are just like this, a Beauport Hotel.
One of the things I want to do is I want to back up a little bit, and I apologize about the airplanes, but obviously I'm close to John F. Kennedy Airport.
Sorry, I can't hear a thing.
You really did it?
No.
Oh, wow. My headphones are really good because it sounds like that's all I hear. So let's get back to the platform. This is important for the people that don't understand when they're trying to acquire hotels. What are you talking? I know what you're talking about, obviously, but what are you talking about when it comes to platforms, being a brand dependent hotelier compared to an independent hotelier, and why does the platform matter, and what do you define platform for our audience?
Sure, happy to do that. Look, I think that over the years, and look, I've worked with some of the biggest brands in the world, and really cut my teeth and got my education there, as well with some of the biggest operators in the world, like Interstate Hotels, early in my career. At the end of the day, the brands bring, kind of hotel in a box. They show up at your door with their signage and their brands, and they say, "Here you go. Plug these things in and turn it on." And I'm oversimplifying it. And you have access to all the channels. You have access to voice reservations. You have access to CRM platforms, et cetera, et cetera. So it's really hotel in the box. And a lot of the operators are very used to the brands just showing up and saying, "Okay, give me what I need to succeed." On the independent side, the independent hotels have had to cobble together their own platforms and their own technology, often at a much higher expense and not as strong of an efficacy as it relates to their ability to compete. Things are changing. Technology is changing that. And the platforms that provide things from your reservations to your voice reservations to your CRM to your revenue management, on and on and on.
What are your favorite platforms that you have? What favorite platforms do you use right now?
We actually use a platform where we assemble the 13 best disparate in class software as a service companies that we got them to work on one platform, and we provide that as a way for independent hotels to one-stop shop. They no longer have to cobble it together. So we like that opportunity, and we believe very strongly, and have seen it, that we can compete with the brands and get the same shelf space. And I think that's what the biggest changes you're seeing, and why you're seeing, quite honestly, some hotel owners that have been brand dependent for years looking to move their hotels to independent. I mean, I'm not making that recommendation, but I think the opportunity now exists.
No, you're seeing a lot of that, and it's not only the platform that's changing, technology is changing, but obviously guests are finding hotels because they're going to either on the internet, going to travel agents, and they want to get away from maybe the branded hotels and find that kind of unique property. However, the thing that brands bring that of kind of really holding them together and really holding a lot of owners hostage a little bit is the loyalty programs. How do independent hotels get away from the loyalty program? We've been thinking about how to get away from loyalty programs when I was running independent hotels, when I first started running independent hotels 25 years ago.
Yeah, look, I don't think you're ever going to be able to compete directly with the loyalty programs. But what I will tell you is I think the demographics are shifting in the loyalty programs, and you're seeing, we've seen some studies out there that have said that the people that participate in these programs participate less because of the currency and more because of the recognition. And I think that's an opportunity for independent hotels to really focus on that recognition, kind of a reward and recognition. I don't think that they're ever going to, look, who's going to have 80 million loyalty members out there to drop into a platform? It's just not going to happen. When we were at RLH, we obviously couldn't compete with that. And so we felt that the way we could compete is to have a better technology platform at a lower cost. And I think that's where independent hotels can succeed. Is that they can provide that reward and recognition.
So, Greg, let me just give everybody a quick update. What he's referring to at RLH, they put together a great package of all of that technology in one. And by combining it, it simplified it, made it much more affordable for the owners of the properties, while also providing them the best of class solution at once. None of that having to research stuff, not having to put together this, that, and the other thing and hoping it all works. Now you're taking that idea and replicating it, what you're doing at Victory Hotel Partners, correct?
Yes, exactly. And look, the other side of this is you have to love the space, right? You look at the hotel that you're standing in front of, Glenn. I mean, as if you look at travelers right now, we just have had a big push from the leisure travel sector. Over the summertime, there's a lot of pent-up demand, right? And I think you're starting to see that tail off a bit. But at the same time, drive in, locations, regional locations, Sunbelt locations, those things, those hotels have been very successful. We operate an independent hotel in Manhattan called the Beacon Hotel. And it's been very successful over the summertime, even with the challenges. Yeah.
I'm sorry, no, I didn't mean to interrupt. I got excited. Is Tom still your general manager?
Tom has retired, but he provided a great platform for us to take it to the next step.
I love that you knew that, Anthony.
Yeah, who's your? I know his new general manager very well.
Yeah, we actually have a guy in there, and then one of our partners, Gary Sims, who Glenn may know the name, is actually overseeing that hotel.
And the guy you're talking about, what's his name?
The guy we're talking about, I think it's like Mike, and I'll forget the last name. It starts with a D. But
maybe
yeah.
it's a different guy. Maybe it's a different guy. He was running it when Tom was. I know Tom was having some difficulties, and he was the gentleman that was running it while Tom was having difficulties.
Right now,
but
hey,
yeah,
one second.
I
if you all want to watch, if you all want to learn about where we think the numbers are going to be in the fall, check out our show from yesterday, September 1st. Where we have on CoStar and JD Power talking all about that insight. So we're not going to get into any of those predictions today. Sorry, Anthony.
And the reason I know the Beacon is because I ran the Lucerne Hotel on 79th in Amsterdam.
Sure.
And they were my competition. And when I went over there to meet Tom, it's an older hotel. It's right on the avenue. And I was just like, there's no way this is going to be competition to me. And then I met Tom. And then I realized that Tom knew every human being that's ever lived, to ever book into New York, to ever want to book into New York, that was thinking about booking into New York.
Yep.
And by just watching him, I learned that if I didn't become a community person, that I didn't go to these association meetings, and I didn't really become known, that people won't know my business. So I really watched Tom from afar, and I really admire him. He's one of those general managers that nobody knows about. Was around for 35 years and took that hotel and really made it successful. So I really admire him tremendously. And that hotel, that area, the Upper West Side, you have Columbia, you have ABC, you have television studios. That area itself can really, if you're a community-driven general manager, you can drive revenue into those hotels because it's really kind of like the border between the West Side, the East Side, Midtown. Like if you can contain people to that area and really know what you're doing and really know the players, you can really drive business in those hotels.
Absolutely. Plus, people want to go there because where else can you get, close by Levine cookies, right? So anyway, we've found we've really enjoyed it. The owners are putting in a significant investment to update the hotel, which
great hotel,
exciting.
And if you ever go to the Beacon Theater is attached to it.
It's the same ownership. So
my goodness, I didn't realize that.
Yes.
I should have put that together, being the name and stuff like that. That's pretty
right. That's right. So look, I think that the world of independent hotels is one that's going to continue to be very exciting. You've got 80,000 of them worldwide, give or take a few. And I think you're seeing an emergence of that segment of the industry. And I think Anthony is absolutely correct. People are seeking out these experiences right now, right? They don't want to go in and look at the same colored carpet, in every hotel. They don't want to, have an experience that really is just there to sleep and to go on their day. They like to and want to enjoy the neighborhood and the environment. And I think independent hotels provide that.
And when you go to a hotel like the Beacon and you meet a guy like Tom and his team, they know the diner to go to. There was like 4 diners right there, and they can tell you, don't go to that diner, go to that diner. They can tell you what facility, what movie theater. Like they can tell you where to shop. It's that really level of service that's going to separate you from a brand to an independent hotel. And like I said, he didn't have the best product to work with, but you still wanted to stay there because of his team.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I'm still a proponent of brands. I think that they are, there's still a niche for them. We also operate another company called Victory Hospitality, which focuses in the mid-scale segment of branded hotels. So, we're not advocating a departure, but we think that there are hotels that would make great candidates, and we like that space a lot.
But it's also from my perspective why I love branded independent hotels. Being a product of independent hotels is when you're a general manager that comes up in a brand, there's nothing wrong with that. But like you said, it's plug and play. We have a building, plug and play. Get the tech guy, get the computers, get this, get that. So as a general manager, you have an asset manager, vice president to report into. You have the ownership and you have the brand. And they're kind of telling you, okay, this is what this is, and now plug it in. When you're running an independent hotel and you get promoted into an independent hotel environment, There is no book. There is
Right.
no like you're working with the general manager, or you're working with the ownership, you're working with the technology partners to figure out who you are, what you are, and
Right.
to me, it's a great learning for a business person out of business school, person out of hospitality school, to really learn
Yep.
and really be creative and really be an entrepreneur.
One of my first assignments as actually my first GM assignment was an independent hotel when I was with Interstate Hotels. And I literally had two phones on my desk. One that was my regular phone and one was the reservation overflow. And I don't think people understand that I used to pick up and take reservations when our reservation agent was busy, right? You don't see that, you don't see that anymore, right? And I think, Anthony, what you're describing is that you're much more involved directly with the day-to-day operations and the people and the guests, I think, in some cases.
Yeah, I didn't even have management companies. It was me and the owner. I mean, my first hotel, my second hotel, my third hotel, it was me and the owner. Anthony, what do we do? Hell if I know, let's go figure it out. And I think that is the greatest learning. I wouldn't recommend it for everyone because you have to have pretty thick skin and be a little crazy. But I just love the independence because it really teaches you this business on a real level. And it really makes you kind of like Tom. He has to know his guests because he doesn't have a management company. He didn't have a brand. Like he had to know, are you coming back? And if you're coming back, are you bringing anybody? And do you have any more conventions? Do you have any more business? This man was seeking business. I think he woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning and walked the Upper West Side looking for business.
Yep. Yeah, no, he did. And look, I think the other thing about independent hotels that people forget about is that, at least in our business model, a large portion of our revenues come from food and beverage. And so, no longer can food and beverage kind of be, just an amenity that breaks even or loses money. You have to be profitable. And I think that there's an opportunity there for independent hotels to be very successful in food and beverage as well. And I think that's a big part of their.
And they have to learn how to make it a destination, right? Because I was just going through this with a hotel, and I've gone through this with many hotels, is when we're talking about food and beverage, I lose interest real quick in these meetings. It's like, give me something to get excited about. Give me a destination. Give me a reason why. Why am I going to that restaurant? I want to know, is there a different kind of sound? Is there a different color palette? Is there a different menu? Is there a different uniform? Tell me something that I haven't seen before if you're going to be an independent. If you're going to do like a kind of like a pub type of environment, great, but do it differently than that independent hotel in Chicago was doing it. Do it, bring something from maybe Ireland or Europe or somewhere where no one's ever seen it before.
Maybe
and
something
to me,
like the Epic Gastropub in Exeter, New Hampshire. Right?
Yeah. I geek out when it comes, like when an owner wants to do something creative, I lose my stuff. And that to me is when it becomes fun for the guests because they're going to be introduced to stuff that they haven't been introduced before.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what we like about it. And I think that you're seeing the and I hate to date all of us on this, so I'll just date myself. You look at, you kind of look at where we have been through our lives and our careers. I think you're seeing a change, as the generations kind of push up through and are now the managers and the directors and the executives, and they're looking for something different, quite frankly.
Yeah, they are. One of the problems that people have is they think that because they, as an individual, he or she likes something a particular way, that's the way it's always going to be, without really regard or reflection on how different generations and different cultures want to enjoy stuff.
And I think it's when old guys like us get into the room with younger people who have great ideas and we crap on them. I think where I get my energy from, those 20-year-olds walking in the door saying, how about this? How about that? Me and my friends do this. Me and my friends do that. And listen to it. Doesn't have to mean I'm going to do it. But I love when the generations collide and we can really talk because everybody's traveled, not just the old people, right? So I think that really the creative process is stopped when the middle-aged to older people are in the room, they're the bosses, and the young people come in with these creative ideas, and we crap on them. I'm the person, and the reason I loved my career is I was the person to always have the last word outside of the owner, and if I said it was going to happen, I just had to sell it to the owner, and it happened. And when you see a young person, Laura at Nickelodeon, who saved Nickelodeon with her one idea, was 25 years old at the time, like those are the moments in my career that just give me energy. And to me, that's where the creative process stops in our industry, where we all think that we know what the hell we're talking about, and we stopped the creative process because of the hierarchy.
Now, Greg, my favorite thing and what really gives me energy is crapping on any of Anthony's ideas. So I love doing that, number one. But secondly, before we hear you speak again, Greg, what was that idea, Anthony? What did that 25-year-old come up
Well,
with?
the reason I didn't want to bring it up because it's a long story, but I'll make it a short story.
All right.
She's one of the most wonderful people I've ever met in my career. She's 25 years old, maybe younger. And I had probably 15, 20 people in the sales office. I was paying the director of sales and marketing a lot of money, and he wasn't doing it because at the end of the day, we had to get kids into the hotel, the Nickelodeon Hotel, when they were in school. When they're out of school, I can charge $700 to apply for Nickelodeon, which I did. But when they're out of school, what happens when they're in school? So she came to my office. I said, hey, let's close our eyes and let's come up with a new idea. We have 10 minutes and we're not walking out of here until we have a new idea. She looked at me. I'll never forget her face. And if she's listening or she listens to the podcast, I'm still friends with her. You know, it was all her. And she opened her eyes and we looked at each other and she says, how about stay free on your birthday? I said, what do you mean? I said, what do you mean? She said, why don't we have kids, if it's a Wednesday and it's their birthday in October, if they're doing well in school, would you allow your kid to come out of school for a long weekend if it was a Thursday or a Friday? And I said, yes, I would. I said, they show their gift certificate, they stay free on their birthday. I said, that's a brilliant idea. And because we're Nickelodeon gave us, I think, 6 commercials a year during the year to be on Nickelodeon channel.
Oh,
so
cool.
when it came out, Nickelodeon Hotel, they had, hey, Nickelodeon Hotel, great. So the kids would run up from the basement and run from their room and say, Mommy and Daddy, let's go to Nickelodeon Hotel. And they go, okay, in the summer. Well, we didn't need you in the summer. So now we gave them a ticket, really wasn't a ticket, to say, hey, on your birthday, you can stay free. You have to stay 3 nights, but you can stay free on your birthday. Your grandma's birthday, your cousin's birthday, as long as you have a birth certificate that says it's somebody's birthday in your family, you stay free. I thought it was a genius idea. I had to fly to New York, meet with them to convince Nickelodeon to do it. They wanted to do the commercial. I said I can do it for $18,000 in Orlando. It costs you guys $50,000 to do it. They said, okay, do it. I had no idea how much it was going to cost me. It cost me $25,000. We did it. We made millions off of that advertisement. A couple of months later, I get a call from somebody in the marketing department at Disney World, who's a friend of mine, says, you didn't hear it from me, but we're going to come out with a program similar to yours. You know how you stay free on your birthday in one of the parks?
Mm-hmm.
It came out of Laura's head.
Wow, that's pretty awesome. That's awesome. So great ideas, and that's what I really love, the ingenuity of things, particularly at independent hotels. It really forces you to be independent. But Greg, I want to talk to you a little about what are the opportunities that you're seeing out there to get ownership of these hotels. Colleen has a great question. Have independent hotels been hit hardest since COVID? And if so, have a lot been bought out? And how does all of that notion tie into your strategy?
Yeah, exactly. You know, when we started the partnership about 18 months ago, we really felt that there were going to be opportunities based on what was going on with the pandemic, right? And what ended up happening is there really wasn't, and that was a lot to do with the banking regulators not forcing the banks to get these off their balance sheets, right, where they had in past cycles.
Yep, and we'll talk about that plenty, so our listeners are very educated on that issue.
Yep. And so the other side of it is while this pandemic was 3 times more severe from a RevPAR drop than any of the other cycles that we've had, I think that people have been able to survive it and get through it. And so I don't think that there was just a huge amount of assets. Now you're seeing assets come to the market pretty readily, and I think that's owners that have decided, you know what, I made it through this, but I don't want to continue to put myself out there with this risk. So we're seeing a number of assets come to the marketplace right now, which is great. We're working on, for example, an beautiful independent historic hotel in Monterey, California, where it's a single owner that's owned it for a number of years. And they've just decided, look, it's time for us to move on and get out of the business. And I think for us, it's a great opportunity to come in and really bring in the platforms, to bring in kind of the ethos that we bring along with that and reposition that asset. And of course, spend a lot of money to renovate the hotel. But I think you're going to see more and more of those opportunities come forward. We're seeing them. we just finished a deal in Tonopah, Nevada, of all places, right? So you're starting to see these things come to fruition.
And I think I'm sorry, Glenn.
No, go ahead. You can go.
What I was going to say was, I think it's probably a big part of it in the next 12 to 18 months is that we didn't have that pull the Band-Aid, okay, everything's going to look like July 2021. Business is pulling back, conventions are pulling back. So hotels are like, okay, I made it through, and we have to thank the government, unfortunately, because I'm not really into the thanking the government, but they really helped pull a lot of hotels through.
Yep.
Okay, so my government subsidies ending. July, August was great, but it's just I can't kind of live in the 50% occupancy forever. Right. It's like too hard. I'm not making enough money. So you know what? I thought it was going to be July 2021 for the next 18 months. It's not. Right. You know what? We're not losing money, but maybe now is the time to sell. And also it helped the buyer because you're not buying off of those July 2021 numbers. You're showing them that, hey, look what happened in September. Look what happened in October. Numbers have gone down because business isn't back. So let me a ticket. Let me help you. You won't get completely devastated, but we can still get a little bit of a bargain here.
Yeah, and look, I think these assets, when we're looking at acquiring these assets, we're putting in the diligence, but at the same time, we're also understanding that, look, we may have to carry an interest reserve for up to 2 years, to get these hotels back. While demand may be back by 2023, and we may be fully back to 19 levels by 2024. You've got to be smart about it and understand that, it may not, you look at the various variants coming out, we may not get there as quickly as we think we are.
Explain to our audience interest reserve. What do you mean by that?
Basically, you reserve money to pay for the interest on the debt on the hotel over a course of time.
Yeah, Ken Patel's making good points in lines with what you were saying, Anthony. Also, they just don't want to deal with the labor issue anymore. So it's just an accumulation of headaches that some of these owners are thinking, let's get out of it. But Greg, it's great that you want to do that, but how are you finding these people out there that are willing to sit down and have a discussion with you?
It's a great question. And look, I think, we have always heavily relied on the broker community. And I think in the independent space, that's not as prevalent as you might think. And so a lot of it is, utilizing our Rolodexes, speaking with legal counsel, speaking with accountants, speaking with banks, speaking with, a number of people that kind of are on the periphery with these owners and getting them, and they're providing us leads, and then going and speaking to these owners and saying, hey, look, would you be interested in selling your asset? And I think it's a much more what I would call blocking and tackling than just showing up and bidding against 10 other companies with a broker, right? And hoping
by blocking and tackling, you mean trying to get others out of the conversation completely, so you have the owners.
Yeah, we like off market deals. Look, no, everybody does. Right?
Who does? I was gonna say, who does it? You took the words out of my mouth.
Market deal is a deal that has not yet become commonly known by one of the major brokers that are out there. Just to get that. Right. Greg, please continue.
Yeah, look, and so I think from our perspective, we're doing these things and leveraging our relationships. Like, one of the great things about being in this industry for 30 plus years, and that's frightening to say.
Yes.
I started my career washing dishes in a kitchen, right? So, I understand it from all angles and levels. For me, it's leveraging those relationships over the years, and that's where we're finding this business. And we're very selective, right? We're not trying to buy 10 assets over the next month, right? We're looking and being very selective.
Right, that's great. So Colleen is asking another great question. Are you going to keep names or change names? How does that work in your philosophy? Maybe there's a mix of both, depending on what the perception of a property.
Yeah, look, I think you'll find, when you talk about the Beacon or Lucerne in New York, right? These hotels have established these names. Right. There's no reason to change those, right? They've had them for years. They've built up a business. They've built up a clientele. They're really, for us, we're not looking to change the name. I think what we may do at some point, we love the name Hay Creek. We also love the name Victory. So will you see us potentially work those in? Yes, I think so. But I think for right now, it's going to be focused on maintaining the name, because that's part of what you're paying for when you buy these.
Right. I could totally see like the Victory Beacon Hotel or something like that. It's like a best of both worlds.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Fascinating. This is really interesting to me, but also, I'm really curious as to what customers are thinking right now in terms of what they're looking for in that travel experience. Greg, you talked about how they're looking for experiences. Sure, that was something that was already rooted in the hospitality culture out there,
Sure.
but everything's been amped up, as Anthony and I have been talking about for the last 18 months through this pandemic. Everything has been accelerated. What's really changed with what consumers are thinking about today, as opposed to what they might have expected and wanted a year and a half ago in March of 2020?
Yeah, I think that there's a number of things. One of the things, I was very fortunate in my career with Starwood. I was there through the evolution of W, right? And was really able to understand, the vision that Barry created around that brand. And obviously it morphed into, something else as it became very popular. And I always remember this, and I think you guys have mentioned this, is, you see a number of brands nowadays that talk about the fact that they're cool. Well, if you have to talk about the fact that you're cool, you're not cool.
Right. All right, let me make a note to not talk about how cool No Vacancy is.
The Algonquin Hotel to me is that hotel.
Yeah.
And so I think what you're seeing is, you're seeing an evolution, as I mentioned earlier, that as these other generations are moving up and traveling and becoming, kind of pushing out, folks like myself as the more populous demand generators in the industry. They're not flipping on their TV to watch, a show. They want to cast up their own personal account, and they may not even be looking at the TV. They're not interested in room service, right? They want to go out and experience something.
Right.
They are very tech savvy, right? So the less friction you can create for them to interact with you, the better. And then I think it's just providing opportunities for them to experience things that they may not even know exist. And I'm not talking about providing them a map to go for a jog. I'm talking about, what's that restaurant that people don't know about that locals do? What's that experience from a spa standpoint that's, not something that's been, over curated, but has a real edge to it. One of the things, if you remember, Glenn, what we did, and which was hugely successful in RLH with the RL brand, was we had the living stages, right? Where, you could have everything from the local politician to a belly dancer giving belly dance lessons in the lobby, right? I mean, these are the type of things that I think people are intrigued about. Well, grab a glass of wine, have a small plate, and sit and enjoy. So
let me flesh that out a little bit, because that was really at the bleeding edge of when people were starting to think about the experiences. And the whole point behind the living stage was to get that local community to continue to come into the hotel, which goes right back to what you were saying about food and beverage and how important that is and how it could be a profit center. Get those locals in. Get the people in the hotel to also eat there, but also experience the community. You've created something special.
Absolutely. I mean, people love that. I'm sorry, Anthony, go ahead.
No. I was just going to kind of underline what you said, that people and a lot of people bring their own entertainment, and they want a place to enjoy it, whether it be in a bar or restaurant when they have their, laptop up or their phone. They just want to kind of relax. And, in the room, people are barely putting on TV because they're using their own devices. I've done a very scientific polling over the last 6 months on planes, highly technical polling, by looking around and watching. And I said, I really wanted to know, over a period of time I've been doing this, how many people are watching, because I fly Delta and they mostly have TVs. And how many people are watching the television on the back of the chair, and how many are watching it on their computer or their phone? Right. And it's about 60% of people are using their own device.
Right.
Yep.
And so that tells you that people want you to give them an environment to be comfortable in, to really make their own entertainment, whether it be the living stage, whether it be a restaurant, whether it be these little corners that you see in lobbies that kind of slip away. And that's where I think some of the brands, and we've had a couple of them on, have been doing a really, really good job. And some brands missing the mark.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Look, I think that the great thing about the brands is they provide a price value equation for the consumer, right? And a quality assurance. And I think you're never going to get past that. But I do think independent hotels can start to move in that direction. And I think that they can become, particularly with the transparency now as it relates to service and quality and experiences, I think that that's becoming less and less important.
Yeah, and when I meet very creative business people that have never been in the hotel business, some of them, if they're funded right and they get the right person, whether it be someone like me or someone else, and they listen to them and they also bring their creative ideas to the table, those people that come out of different businesses that have never been in the hotel business, that are funded properly, that are creative, are some of the most successful hoteliers I've ever met. Yes.
Absolutely. Look, and I still think, to this day, some of the things that I learned working, in Starwood when Barry Stronach was there, he used to bring executives in that had no hotel experience, right? From perfume companies, from graphics companies, from just experiences around the world, curators of art, right? That had never worked in a hotel in their lives, but it really created a differentiation that I think really resounded with the consumer.
It also prevented you from being in an echo chamber of getting back the same ideas you're putting out there and everyone going, oh, that's great, when it's not a great idea. Anthony?
Exactly.
Anthony, do you want to say something? We can't hear you now. We lost you. That's all right. I will, while Anthony is working on that. He's gone completely.
Wow.
So I guess you just had enough of us, Greg. I don't know what I don't
understand that, Glenn.
Yeah. But speaking about getting those outside opinions and stuff like that, it made me think I want to go back to where the money is coming from to start buying these independent hotels. What is your situation like, and what is the general situation like to get funding out there? Because I'm hearing mixed messages, and I'm thinking a lot of it has to do with who you are as opposed to being any company.
Yeah, look, I think that one of the reasons we formed this partnership is because the couple of the partners that are in it are people that we've done business with in the past, right? These are the fund managers. These are the guys that do provide significant equity for deals. And at the same time, one of our partners is squarely in the debt markets, right? And so for us, we wanted to make sure that the capital stack was sound to go out and acquire good assets. I think you've seen, and you are seeing a number. There's a fair amount of cash on the sidelines right now. I think people are looking, at the opportunity and kind of balancing that. I mean, we talked about this a lot through the pandemic, which is, if you don't act now, if you wring your hands too much, what we've seen in every cycle is that you're kicking yourself for not having made that acquisition, right?
Oh, Greg, you're so right. And thank you for saying that. Because one of the things that's been frustrating me is, and I say it on the show all the time, is every downturn, I always hear there's a lot of money on the sidelines, right? Mm-hmm. When are you going to invest and take advantage of the now? Otherwise, you're just going to miss the opportunity. And that gets me frustrated as someone who doesn't have the funds to do an acquisition. I wish I could get in there. Anthony, welcome back. You're still on mute, by the way. Greg?
Right. Well, thank you. Well, I have a $1 billion question.
Yep.
Can I answer the $1 billion question? Yeah. Okay. How did W get its name?
Actually, it was my understanding of the process, and there's lots of myths and stories out there regarding this, is that there were other names that were actually ones that had been trademarked or taken that they couldn't execute against. And so the actual suggestion for the W actually came from Barry's wife.
Oh, that's cool. So A through V were already taken, I guess, is what that.
Yeah, and then there was a lot of work that had to be done to actually trademark the W. So it had more to do with the font and the style than it had to do with actually W in itself.
Right.
Well, yeah, because I remember when it first came out, I was like, "That's a dumb name. That's a great name. That's a dumb name. That's a great name. That's fantastic. I hate that name. That's so creative. Oh my God, that works."
Right. So, Greg, let me tie back your experience with W Hotels into what you're doing now to really show how independent hotels can be extremely successful. Because W Hotels, people still think there are like 1,000 of these around the world, when it's really a very selective portfolio of properties, but through smart marketing, public relations, and other sorts of things, a brand that is kind of almost an independent in style has really been able to break through and become almost branded in terms of the consumer mindset. Mm-hmm. So I kind of feel like that's kind of the philosophy you guys are going to be working on and taking.
Yeah, look, I think if you go back to the heritage of the W brand, one of the first hotels was there in Manhattan, and it was really intended to be a 3-star brand. And it morphed into what you see now, which is 4.5 stars, right? And I can remember at the time, there was maybe 15 or 16 of them. And as you were articulating, people felt that there were hundreds of them around the world. And the fact of the matter is that there weren't. And so, when you look at what the real secret sauce was in W, right? It was exactly what Anthony was describing, which is, listening to kind of the younger generation and that cutting edge group, not letting people like myself get involved in making, branding decisions based on our years and years of experience. But it was bringing in people that had different experiences and letting them, free flow, provide thought, take risks, do things that might be unexpected or uncomfortable in some cases.
Right.
And that was really the secret sauce for the success. And then focusing on things that people want, right? Good shower, comfortable bed, great Wi-Fi.
And you did a great job with being in the right market. So the reason it felt like you had hundreds of them, because we all travel to those markets, whether it be New York, LA, and they were in the markets. Every time I traveled, it was in the market I was in.
Yeah. One of the biggest challenges with the success of that brand actually is that you started to see the 50-something business person staying there, which by doing that kind of made them not as cool, right?
Right.
So I think if you look to the early days of W and really saw kind of the raw inception of the brand, that was really, I think, the time to really take a snapshot and remember. And that's what we're trying to do with what we're doing, is looking at it from that perspective. And I'll go back to this: food and beverage in these independent hotels, in many cases, is 50% of the revenue. Wow. So it's a big part of the success.
Well, I think W was kind of like that 55, 60-year-old man that was wearing the black shirt when he was 18 and started wearing 55 or 60 and wasn't in the same shape. I think W, from my perspective, didn't kind of evolve as quickly as it should have, and it was kind of still playing to how it opened, and then it caught up to itself.
Yep. I think you saw it.
I was actually going to joke when Greg was talking about the 55-year-old guys, when they check in, maybe just give them the black turtleneck or something like that they could wear.
And by the way, talk about check-ins. I want to say this. I am a huge fan of the check-in on your iPhone. I did it in MGM Vegas, and I wasn't sure if I'd like it. I was exhausted. I wanted to get to my room, and it worked, and it was great. And then I went to the front desk to get a key because I didn't really want to take my cover up to my phone off all the time. So I got a key later when I was in the mood to go to the front desk, and there was nobody at the front desk. But man, checking in on your phone, it's here to stay, and it's great.
So
yeah, look, you're going to see technology. The thing is that it hasn't been seamless enough, right, Anthony? I mean, it's been spotty in the ability for it to work.
Right. And that's why I'm excited, because it works so well.
Yeah. When it works, it's phenomenal. And I think you'll see more of that, frictionless kind of experience for guests. And then the other thing is, I think you're going to see a lot more fintech come into the industry, right? Where they start to monetize things in a different way.
Right. So let me ask you this then, Greg, because if you remove too much friction between the guest and the check-in experience and all of these other things that they could do on their own, at what point do you have to make sure there is a little bit of friction or something that you guys can still have control over the situation and make those important human connections? Because that's really what people go home and share with their friends and family about.
Yeah, look, one of the things, and I'll go back to my Marriott days that Bill Marriott used to say, right, is there are qualities you hire for and qualities you teach, right? I can't teach someone to smile. I can't teach someone to want to be helpful to a guest that they see may be struggling, right? And so a lot of it, I think, comes in the hiring process, and making sure that you're surrounding your guests with people that have a propensity or the quality to be able to interact with them. And that's one of the things we've always focused on. And I think, Anthony's talked about training before. Mm-hmm. Your training, it becomes very important. And I think actually what it becomes more of a training is probably more empowerment and allowing allowing people to be confident enough, allowing the housekeeper to be confident enough to make a decision on behalf of a guest.
Right.
This is where those moments of truth are going to be met.
Amen. I can't thank you enough for saying that. It's kind of like I see some kids like buying these junky cars and not really renovating these cars and fixing them up and putting these $1,000 wheels on. So you have $1,000 wheels on a junky car. It makes no sense. It's like getting a great employee and training and not training them, or on the other side, getting a terrible employee and trying to train them. You have to get a good person, then you can train them. If you don't have something to work with, no matter how much training you have, you will never be able to be successful. And because at the end of the day, we're busy. So your training starts to tail off. Your manager gets busy. Your supervisor gets overwhelmed. The supervisor quits. And now you're depending on that one person at night, that night auditor, that night clerk, that night agent to really run your hotel. And guess what? No one's really paid attention for the last 4 months because it's been so busy. But if you hired well and you initially trained well, that person has pride in the business and they will run the hotel the way you would expect them to run it.
Absolutely. Another analogy that I'll use, Glenn, that may be interesting to you is if you remember with the Hotel RL, we had no front desk, we had no pods, and people used to say in the industry, well, you have to have a front desk, right? You have to have somewhere that someone can walk up. And the reality of it is if someone's walking in your lobby and they have a suitcase, guess what? They're probably checking in, right? Right. And so I think you have to have
into that hotel the first one that you're talking about. Mm-hmm. I was met with a gentleman with an iPad, which was new and innovative at the time. Mm-hmm. And I love that there was no traditional front desk.
Right. And I think that those are back to your question about experiences. I think those are the little things that could differentiate an independent hotel, right? Because look, they're not trying to turn the Titanic from a platform standpoint, right? They're able to be laser focused on what their guests are looking for, and I think that technology can be a part of that. It does. It's not something that's going to replace it.
Right. All right. It looks like we lost Anthony again. What are the hazards of him hanging out in his backyard? That's why I'm here in the home studio pretending to be in Kennebunkport, Maine. But Greg, we're almost out of time now. Is there anything else that we haven't really discussed that you want to be sure that we touch on today? Maybe talk about beyond that. Talk about the future of where you think this is going to all end up for you in your business in like a year from now or so.
Yeah, look, I think that like many folks out there, we're looking to acquire and build an organization. We're not looking to build some type of mega platform. I think that we're looking to enjoy what we're doing. Most of us in this partnership have been involved with hotels all of our lives, right? And we've reached various levels of success. And I think, now for us, it's kind of giving back to the industry, doing something meaningful, something that we enjoy, and we're working with people we want to work with, like you, Glenn. I think for us, that's a big part of why we're doing what we're doing. And then, the last word I'd really like to leave people with is I think everyone needs to think about, look, the industry has always been very good about surface cleaning for the most part, right? We didn't forget surface cleaning when COVID came out.
That's right.
No one forgot that. But there's such an emphasis on it. But at the end of the day, I think as an industry, we're missing the biggest challenge, which is clean air. And I think indoor air, clean air is something that's going to. You're seeing schools put them in the classrooms. You're seeing bank facilities and others doing these things. I want the industry to understand that this isn't going to go away, right? We could be on version 50 of COVID at some point in our lives. And so we have to address it. And there is a new normal, and we have to address that new normal.
That's why you're doing a lot of work with Delos Wellness Solutions and stuff like that, for example. Yes?
Exactly.
Yep.
Indoor is important to not only our guests but our associates. So it's something to really think about.
And I like that solution. I got to look into that for around here because all of that cat hair and cat dander around this place is just killing me, for example, let alone pathogens out there. I would like to remind all you hoteliers out there, make sure your hand sanitizing stations are filled and the wipes are there. I must have been in a dozen hotels over the last month, Greg, and I'm starting to see let me see if I could word this right. The diligence in making sure that those things are still full is starting to run a little bit low, probably because people have been so busy and understaffed. But focus on that because you don't want to send the wrong messaging.
Agreed.
All right, Greg, how can people find you? How can people learn more about what you're up to?
Yeah, look, we're our website is Victory Hotel Partners. It's a great place to reach us and do a little research on us. And as always, I make myself available through all aspects of social media, and happy to talk with anybody at any time.
Great. Well, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. And lots of good luck in the future.
Great. Thank you, Glenn. It's great to see you.
Thank you. And thank you to everybody for watching today. I guess Anthony will be back next week. Who knows? Who knows what happened to him? Technology's a weird beast. But what are you going to do? Now, I know what you do want to do. You want to download our show on audio only, and you can do that on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, even Amazon, wherever you want to go. That's where you are. Say hello to us. I'm at Traveling Glenn. He's at Anthony Hotels. All right, everybody, remember, tune in 4 days a week at noon. Tomorrow night, I got Friday night audit at 5 p.m. We're going to be drinking. We're going to have fun. We're going to have a good time, lots of laughs, and probably a lot of people insulting me and hurting my feelings. You won't want to miss that. Tune in. It'll be on all of our social media channels. Then also, I don't know. I'm going to just go and be depressed that it looks like summer is over and I've got to get back into fall. Hold on. I got it. What am I supposed to remember to do?
You're supposed to remind everybody that Monday is a holiday and they should enjoy it because we will be too. It is Labor Day. And
all
we
right.
will not have a live show.
Okay, right. And Tuesday's Rosh Hashanah. We're supposed to have a show. I got to figure out how I'm going to pull that one off, but I'm working on that. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for being here. Maybe you can help me end this show, Suzanne. Just remember, you've got one life, so blaze on, and
take care of yourself.
I love it. See you all tomorrow at Friday Night Audit and Monday, right? Nope, not Monday, Tuesday.